Hey, I wanted to tell you about a really cool project. I am standing on a disc golf course today, and St. Johns County in St. Augustine, Florida talked to me and said, hey, landscape designer, we wonder if you could help us to talk with the Disc Golf Association and put plants in special areas where the fairways will, it'll be safer for people to play together so that they don't throw discs into one another. And we would really like those plants to be very low maintenance, which means highly sustainable. And we would like the plants to be plants that are that offer biodiversity and bring in lots of insects and feed pollinators. And so can you do that for us? And I said, well, I will try and I'll look into it. And I'm very familiar with golf in the traditional golf courses, but not so much disc golf. So I got to learn a lot about the sport, and it's one of the fastest growing sports in the nation right now. So I jumped at this chance, and I wanted to tell you about some of the plants that we used, because I think you can use them in your own gardens too. Florida-friendly plant, this is called cigar plant. And the reason that they're called cigar plant is that they look like little orange cigars all over a 2-foot by 2-foot plant. It is a native to Mexico, but it acts like a native here in Florida, so it's a Florida friendly. Very little water. It will live in the hell zone in front of a house or at the mailbox in full hot sun. In fact, don't put these in much shade because they thrive in full hot, harsh conditions. They bring on the hummingbirds. I was out by my hell zone mailbox today, and there was a hummingbird all over this cigar bush. This is called chase tree, and we have several different varieties on this job on the golf course. This one is fairly new. It's called Daytona, and there's a white one and a purple one, and I believe it's going to be one of my favorites as well. The trees bring in pollinators. They are always surrounded by many bees, many swallowtail butterflies, lots of smaller, different butterflies, but it is prolific in its blooming, and it is white. So white, whenever you use white in a landscape, oh, it just pops. And especially it pops in the morning and it pops at night when it can make a contrast from the background. So these things, very low water, low care, and bring a lot of diversity to your landscape. So I have another favorite plant. Oh, I have to tell you, all these are my favorite plant. But anyway, I have we'll call it a ground cover crush. And it is this plant. It is called dune sunflower or beach sunflower because it grows directly in dry beach sand without any extra water and in full hot sun. It grows you can get one little plant that starts out in a 6-inch pot, and it will grow 5 feet across both ways and only about 6 or 8 inches tall in a season. So it won't take too many to cover an entire bed of plants. So this is one that we've used out here because you really have to do nothing to it. It is in the sunflower family. It shares the same like giant sunflower family member as the huge sunflowers that grow 10 feet tall, and they have them this big. So these are great. When it goes into seed, it feeds the birds, and when it's in flower, it feeds butterflies and native bees, and I think you'll like it in your garden. Very low care. I want to tell you about one of my absolute favorite trees that has flowers. You may have heard about magnolias, but have you heard about the magnolia's little sister called Little Jim? And I love this plant. If you've ever smelled a magnolia, it is intoxicating. But I love this plant because it's so easy to grow. Birds can use it it's almost like a perch that they can use when you're putting it out in a larger setting. And I just found out that the petals are edible. And what you do is you pickle them. What a cool thing. And they taste a little bit like pickled ginger. This is muley grass. And muley grass is a fantastic plant to put in a low water, low care landscape. It is a grass that is a clumper, so it's not going to run all over your landscape. But the big thing about muley grass is that it blooms like crazy in October. When everything else is kind of petered out and done, muley grass takes off. It has these big purple plumes, and people stop their cars and get out and wonder, what is that? Well, it's muley, and I think you're gonna like it. Hello, this is called Solidaga stricta. And what I want to talk to you about is that it doesn't seem like there's a lot going on in this one little piece or wand, but it's a wonderful solidago or goldenrod. And many goldenrods grow like crazy out of proportion. Because they're natives, we don't call them invasive, but I'm going to call them aggressive. So there are other ones that grow very tall and their runners grow way out of bounds. This Solidago stricta or wand goldenrod is perfect for a home landscape. Its highest time of blooming is in the fall. So right now, in the beginning of the summer, they're just putting out a couple blooms here and there, but you can just keep watch. They will grow into a nice 2 by 2 foot span and maybe 2 to 3 feet tall, and that's it. They will not travel around your landscape, but they will bring in pollinators and they will have little seeds on them that the birds can come to and eat. So they're a fabulous plant in the wildlife landscape. This is white gara, but I call it fairy flower. It has long, and it's also known as bee blossom, so I guess you know it attracts bees. And it is a great plant for smaller pollinators. It waves in the breeze, you can see it in the landscape, and boy is it low water. It's one of my favorite plants for bringing in biodiversity and keeping the landscape very sustainable. Okay, I know I have some favorite plants, but this plant, wild blueberry, Darrow's blueberry, is in the top 10 for Florida and for Zone 8 and Zone 9. It is a small shrub. It grows in sun or shade. Once it's established, you may not have to water it for a while. It feeds birds with blueberries. It feeds bees with its pretty little flowers that kind of hang down like little bells when it blooms, and it blooms in late March and April, and then by June you get little blueberries. And I've had a hedge at my demonstration garden only in 3 years, and it is absolutely loaded with blueberries. Each year it gets a bigger and bigger production. So now I don't have to fight the birds that are always on it. So it also feeds the birds. But this is such a beautiful plant. It grows without even trimming. So I love this plant, and it is soft and beautiful. Oh, and last thing, you can make a tea out of the leaves. That is, the leaves are even more nutritious than the berries. And we all know how good blueberries are for us. So when you put the leaves, the red leaves, when it turns like January, February, when it gets a cold snap, and you give these you put these leaves in hot water, they give all their antioxidants to the water and make a tea, and you drink that in, you are protected and have a lot more immunity. So this is a fabulous plant, this Darrow's blueberry that William Bartram found when he came here.